last night and made lots of little belted pigs, just to show off the faults that come with the breed. I'm going to start off explaining where the breed came from originally. So most people seem to think that the breed first came from Dutch, which is a misconception. The breed was created from Taunton Whites. One of the major faults with Taunton Whites is to have a white band around it. So the lady that created them is up in Scotland, and what she did was she bred these faults together to create a pig that always had the band. She then bred away the red, so she was only left with black. So I want to run through some of the faults and ideas that we have with the belted. So I think you'll all agree that this would be the perfect belted. We're looking for a nice clean black face and a nice clean black rear end. Ideally we want a third white in the middle. So we want a third and a third. The middle third, which is white, should include the front legs. So anything from shoulders down to the middle of the belly. So through the years now, since I took on the belted, when I took them on there was only 5 left in the country, and 4 sows and 1 boar, and the only boar I had a beautiful big blaze, which in this breed is the worst fault to have, because you put a blaze on and some stops and you've got a Dutch. So you're trying to get away from everything that is Dutch with the breed. So I was at Doncaster, and it was the first year that I had the belted there, and I was actually doing the presentation for the Tweed, and the lady came up to me and was talking about the belted, and she picked up the leaflet, and she picked it up and she said, "Oh, well that's a crap one." I was like, "Well, it's the best that we've got currently." She said, "Oh, I've seen the ones in the show as well. They're crap." I was like, "Okay." And she said, "Oh, what are you showing? What have you got here?" I said, "Oh, I've got the tweeds here." And she said, "Oh, what else are you showing?" I said, "Oh, belted." She ran, and I mean, this 80-year-old lady ran. I was like, "Okay, she's gone." She soon comes back with her daughter in tow, going, "He breeds belted, he breeds belted." So I explained the fact that the only boar I had this massive blaze, and straight away she was like, "We'll sort this out for you." And she sent me 2 wonderful boars from Scotland down to help me with the breed. What are we doing?
That's Rebecca's phone.
So there's our perfect belted, and here is our worst belted. Now a couple of other faults or variations that we get. Now some are more acceptable than others. You'll find that when you get, because it's a pig that is prone to get a blaze, you do then get some that the top line rises higher. Now when you're breeding these, the bottom line is the easiest line to get. So this one is the hardest line to get straight. So if you've got 2 pigs, and one has got a line that goes quite high at the front, but has a perfectly straight bottom line, and one has a perfectly level top line, but a slightly wavy or slightly uneven bottom line, this one would be, would score higher than this one, because for ease of lines, it's a lot harder to get that line correct. Now, going off one we've got with the blaze, because blazes are quite prevalent, you do get either spots of white or little slips. I think it's slips in horses. So you do get ones with little snips on their nose.
In the Romans we call it a vestige.
It was either slips or snips.
In horses it's snips.
That's the one we said, snips. So you get one with a little snip. So if you got one on the judging table that had a blaze, straight away it shouldn't be there really. But you would be a lot more forgiving for a perfectly black rear end and perfectly black rear front with a tiny little snip. One of the other faults that we get, which is come from the Dutch lines, is you can get the odd stop. Now, we know that Jme Taylor prays the stop gods for her stops stay on her belted. Well, I actually pray to the stop gods that these stops grow off. So they do grow off. You do get some that will stay. You only get the odd occasional one. Now, if you were to get this pig and this pig up, so one with a snip and one with a stop, which do you think would be more acceptable? So if we have a raise of hands, who thinks a snip would be more acceptable than a stop? So we'll go snip first and we'll go stop. Okay. Well, I would personally say that the snip would be more acceptable than the stop, because the reasoning for that is because you've got different degrees as well. If you're going and you've got a pig it's all joining up right and you can tell it's a very definite blaze, compared to a pig that has a little snip like that, because they can be absolutely tiny. Can you see it?
Can I just give you some input, Jamie?
Yeah.
Having bred American Cresteds, which are they're also affected by the white spotting gene, because that's what's affecting what you're doing there. The white snip is much more difficult to get rid of than a white foot. That's my experience with American Cresteds, because that used to be the same faults in them that used to appear, was a little bit of white on the nose or a white foot, sometimes two white feet.
So with anything that's got extra white with the belted, we are concentrating on getting that nice clean line. And ideally, you want perfectly clean everywhere. Your ones that have got the extra on the white, well, you can get some that are completely white on the bottom. If you've got one that's perfectly clean there and completely white on the bottom, apparently that's your gold dust for your breeding. I haven't quite got one yet. I have got ones that this runs right down to one leg, and I've got just a patch of black on one hip. And I was always told to keep those for your breeding. So I'm going to run through some of the pigs that I've bought here with them to show you some good things and bad things with them that we've got. So some of these are quite old. And they've all come up straight out of the pen this morning. Now this one is one that came down from Scotland, not one of the original ones that came down from Scotland, but I wanted to show you the disadvantages of nice clean lines. As you can see with him, there's quite a bit of intermingling hair, which when you're showing would be a big no. He would never go on the show table for me. I've bred with him because of the limited amount of stock that there is, but I wouldn't breed with him forever. Once I get a good baby or enough boars to go from him, this is something that I would then stop breeding with, because you're trying to get a nice straight line, and even if the straight line isn't dead straight, you don't want the intermingle of hairs. Right. So, This is one of these ones where it wasn't dead straight, but you can see with her, you do have a tendency for the band to get a lot further down. So for her, she is a breeding pig. I wouldn't show her either. But you can see on hers, she's not quite even. She's got a lot more on the one side than she does the other. Now the other extreme of what we've got is, with this breed, you struggle to keep the white. As generations will go on, if you breed really good to really good, you will get less and less white as generations go. So keeping pigs that have got more white will help your stud. And you're trying to keep pigs that have got more white on the bottom half down rather than the top half up. Now this one, he came out perfectly band that goes all the way around, but you can see it's quite skinny and obviously has that step as well. But he's got a practically clean face apart from tiny little snip and 3 little white hairs on the head. So my mating to him would be something that's got quite a bit more white, because any babies that you get from him, you can see when he stands, the white on his feet doesn't look like it's connected to its band, even though it is. Now, we're on to one of these with the very straight bottom line. Now this is showing more of a Dutch patterning. So you've got your straight line at the bottom, but this is bringing up into a V at the top. So this is something that we're looking to avoid. You're trying to get this much further down. She does also have the stops. Well, she has one and the snip. So she will be bred from, but she wouldn't be shown. Now I have bought one of my current show pigs. Is actually a really nice size, and as you can see, his band is relatively even. I would prefer it like it a little bit bigger, but you can see from both sides it's relatively even, and we've got a slight little dip here and a tiny little dip at the top, and he comes with tiny little snip on the front, and he does have a few. He has a single little tiny stop, which that was the one I was praying that it would grow off. It didn't. So currently, he's the best one in my garage. They're a very rewarding breed, but quite frustrating. I think anyone that's bred a marked breed would understand how rewarding but how frustrating they can also be at the same point. So this one, this is my baby. So this one, like I showed you the one that was a bit thin. He's a bit thin, but he's my only under 5 that will go into the show coming up. So you can see with him, I would like his band to be another ½ centimetre each way. It's not perfectly straight, but he has got a complete band. Nice clean feet at the back, but with a snip on his nose. So that's my next little under 5 show baby. With these, currently they have been the old standard was the fact that they were only shown in black. Because, well, blacks are like getting rocking horse poo. Decent ones that you can breed from. So to outcross to those was never going to be a viable option. I did have to fight to get it accepted that we could show in other colours, and now they can be shown. None have been produced, but they can be shown in any recognised self colour, but only self colours, no gooties, just any recognised self colour. So they have been mixed in now. We've put lilac in, we've put slate, and there's been chocolate. So we're starting to get some more diversity into the pigs now. Just a minute before me. So I'm going to go through these, and I think as a group it would be nice if we could place these in order, if we have a bit of discussion on where we think they should be, because it would be good to get some feedback on what people think, other people think certain faults, in what order they should go. So we've got 6 pigs up here. If people want to come up and see them,